I had a chat with 5 millionaires who achieved financial freedom whilst using their 9 to 5 to build their side hustles. None of them came from money, and they had to balance having a 9 to 5 and then a 5 to 9. And here is 5 things that I learned from them about building financial freedom. Number 1, owning capital. Owning capital is when you own something that has the potential to generate money. And none of these millionaires built their wealth with their 9 to 5. Instead, they used the money from their 9 to 5 to buy capital, which led to their financial freedom. And owning capital comes in many forms. It could be owning your own business, owning property, angel investing, which allows you to invest in startups, or investing in stocks and share ISAs or forex trading, and so on and so forth. Owning capital allows you to generate money without having to trade your time. And this is important because we only have 24 hours in a day. So if you were to work 24 hours in a day, which is close to impossible, then how much money you would generate at the end of the day is limited. Whereas if you had a vehicle that was generating money for you outside of the 24 hours, then the amount of money that you can make is unlimited. 2, an abundance mindset. With a mindset of abundance, you genuinely believe that there's enough resources for everyone, and as a result, there's no need for competition or for a scarcity mindset. And a book that really helps to tweak your psychology around money and how you should approach life is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The book talks about how you should think about money and why it's important to affirm yourself when it comes to your belief. And working on your psychology is important because you cannot live out something that you do not genuinely believe. 3, compounding. Compounding is a great tool when you're trying to build financial freedom, and it's the idea that you have a pot of money, and that pot of money, when invested, earns interest. And if you reinvest that interest, then you get interest on top of that interest. And it goes on and on and on. And so if you are disciplined and you consistently reinvest the interest that you gain, the pot of money that you end up with at the end can be insane. And now I'm going to show you a finance example so you can actually see it in practical terms. Let's say you have £1,000 and you want to invest it, and if you invest it, you get 5% in yearly interest. So in year 1, you'd start off with £1,000, you'd get your 5% interest, which equates to £50, and so at the end of year 1, you'd have £1,050. And let's say you're super disciplined and you don't want to take out the £50 and spend it, you want to reinvest it, then at the start of year 2, you would have £1,050. You'd get your 5% interest, which works out as £52.50. And so at the end of year 2, you would have £1,102.50. And if you reinvested the money back, then at the end of year 3, you would have £1,157.62. And if you were disciplined and you continued reinvesting the interest that you've accumulated over the years, then by the time you get to year 10, you would have £1,628.89. Although £628.89 doesn't sound like a lot of money to have accumulated in interest in 10 years, it's important to remember that with compounding, the key is having a high capital to start off with and invest in that capital over a long period of time. And that's when you start to see the massive numbers. And Warren Buffett is a prime example of this. He has compounded for decades and is a billionaire as a result of it. 4, focus. The key thing that I learned from them is it's important to focus on one income stream first before diversifying into other income streams. And data shows that the average millionaire has 7 income streams. It's important to remember that before they got to their 7th income stream, they started off with their first. And they built their first income stream really well, and in building it well, they would have been able to take advantage of the money that they had, the new network that they would have been exposed to, and of course, they would have benefited from the economies of scale. Science also tells us that the human brain is incapable of focusing on 2 things at once, let alone trying to build 7 different income streams and the difficulty in switching between the tasks associated with doing so. Research also shows that there is a behavioral cost associated with switching between tasks. In fact, it can interrupt our flow state, it can reduce the quality of the work that we produce, it can cost up to 40% of our productivity time, and it can take us longer to do tasks. Number 5, delayed gratification. Delayed gratification involves not splurging on your short-term pleasures now so that you can achieve your long-term goals. And if we relate it to money, it's basically not spending money on the things that you really want now in order to be in a better financial position later on in life. And all of the millionaires that I spoke to, despite what they did for a living, all of them lived below their means and had a really high savings rate, and had to exercise out delayed gratification on a continuous basis. And in order to keep track of how well they were doing and living below their means, they would keep a budget planner, they would have regular financial reviews, especially with their partners, to make sure that they were on track to achieving their goal. And each of them had a clear FIRE number. And FIRE stands for Financially Independent Retire Early Number. And this was based off their own individual calculations of the life that they would like to live and how much it would cost them to live that lifestyle. And then they worked and put measures in place to make sure that they could accumulate that money and they could sustain that lifestyle for a long period of time without having to have the obligations of working if they didn't want to. And the second thing that I saw that was quite common between all of their stories is that they tried to increase how much they earned through their job. And that could have been by asking for promotions, making sure that they were in an industry that paid well, or taking on private clients in relation to their job role. And that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I will link below other videos related to this Money Talk series that I think you'll also enjoy too. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.